Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Aditya here. Today we will continue our IAM hands-on session. Once you open the AWS console, and here in the console home, right, I'm going to open IAM. For that, go to the search bar and type IAM. And here in the list, the top service came here, that is the IAM. And if I hover on this particular service, right, the top feature it is listing was groups, users, roles, policies, and access analyzer. We will discuss about all these features in the future sessions. Okay, so I'm opening the IAM service. So now IAM service is opening, and this will open the dashboard of IAM. Right, this is the dashboard of IAM. In the left hand side, it is saying identity and access management, and we will have a search bar, and you have multiple options under the dashboard, like access management, where you can create user groups, users, roles, policies, identity providers, account settings, right? And you have access reports also. You have so many options here. We will discuss about all of this in detail. And also in middle you can see some security recommendations. Currently it is zero for me because I enabled multi-factor authentication for the root user. And if you are not aware of multi-factor authentication, it's like two-layer authentication. One is with your password and another one is you will provide a security code, so that in the two-way your account is safe. So that is the advantage of using the multi-factor authentication. And if you don't know about multi-factor authentication, it's okay. I will explain about multi-factor authentication in detail. Okay. And here it is showing what are the IAM resources available in my account. Currently, I have zero users, groups, and zero users, right? And 31 roles, policies, and identity providers. And on the right hand side, with respect to our AWS account, we have some information like account ID. So this is the account ID and account alias. So instead of accessing your account by using this account ID, you can create an alias and use that alias to access your account, right? You can either use your account ID or you can create your own alias and use that alias to access your account. You have two options, and you have this sign in URL for IAM users in this account. So if you create an IAM user by using this URL, you can able to access them. Okay, for IAM users. But currently we logged in with which user? That is root user. So if you see here, this is the root user. This root user has all the privileges and all the permissions usually. So that's why it is not advisable to use root user for your daily use. Okay. And if you observe one more thing about this IAM console, right? Here on the top right, it is showing as global. And as we discussed in the theory session, right? IAM is an global service. That means if you create one IAM user inside an IAM, that is available throughout all these regions, for United States, Asia Pacific, Canada to all the other regions, right? You can see everything locked here because this is a global service. But if you go to other services like EC2, Lambda, or CloudWatch, right? Whatever, we can have so many regional services also, where you can see these regions are enabled. So those are region specific. But here the IAM is a global service. So one IAM user can able to access all the regions, right? The same user is present in all the regions. So that means it's a global service. Okay. Now we will start with our first creation, that is user creation, right? So in this hands-on session, we will majorly focus on users, creation of users, and how to add those users into groups. Okay, how to add these users into groups, and how to attach permissions to these users or groups. So up to this we will discuss in this hands-on session. And before doing that, we'll do one thing. We will create one account alias. So as we discussed earlier, we can use account ID to access our IAM account, and also you can use an alias. So we can create an alias to this account ID, so that instead of using this number, you can use an alias to access the account. Now I will show you how to create an alias. Here click on this create button. So once you click on this create button, it will ask some alias, and that means some random name you have to provide here, so that it will use that random name to access your account. with this account ID. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create Aditya learning alias. Okay, so or I will keep it as Aditya learning. That's it. Okay. So this is the new sign-in URL. You can see here by using this sign-in URL, our IAM users can able to access this account. So now I'm going to click on create alias. So once I clicked on the create alias, it is trying to create it, but there is an issue now. The account alias Aditya-learning already exists. That means some other user created this, some other account using this alias. So since this is a global service and also these alias need to be unique, we need to provide some unique identifier to our account aliases also. So for that I will add some number here 67 and I'm going to click on create alias and yeah you can see it alias Aditya learning 67 is created for this account. And yeah, if you see here account alias is Aditya learning 67 and you can edit this alias at any point of time. And here you have your sign in URL for your IAM users to sign into this account. Okay, but for that we need IAM user, right? Since we don't have any users, first we'll try to create an IAM user. So how to create an IAM user? So if you see this console on the left hand side, you have this access management. In the access management, you have user groups and users. Click on users. Once you click on users, you will get this page here. And here you will have create user option. So I'm going to create that user by clicking on create user button. So once I click on this button, it is asking about username. So you can give name of your user. So I am going to give as Aditya. And do you want to provide console access to this user? So based on your requirement. So in my case, I want Aditya to access AWS Management Console. So that's why I'm ticking this checkbox. And here, are you providing console access to a person? So that was the question, and based on that, you can answer like you can select two options. One is specify a user and identity center, and this was a recent update, and AWS always recommends to use this identity center. Or otherwise, you have another option that is I want to create an IAM user. So when to create an IAM user and when to specify a user in identity center is we recommend that you create IAM users only if you need to enable programmatic access through access keys, service specific credentials for AWS code commit, or Amazon key spaces, or a backup credential for emergency account access. So you can select any option, but for this session I'm going to use, I want to create an IAM user for going with the standard and the old school way. Okay, this is the new way. You can try it out, but I'm going with I want to create an IAM user. So I'm going to demo how to create an IAM user. So that's why I'm using this so that you will get better clarity. And here in the console password, since you are accessing your account, right? Even for your root account also, you used to provide the Gmail and also you used to provide your password, right? Here also you have to mention a password. So usually what I will do is I will leave it for the auto generate password and I will tick this so that once you created this auto generated password and also user creation completes, right? You can provide that information to a user so that that user first uses this auto generated password and the next login, right? Next sign in, you will change that password. Since this is for demo, I'm going to use custom password and I'm going to untick this because I don't need to change my password in the next sign in. But usually this is recommended if you are creating an IAM user for your organization. Okay, and here we can mention any custom password, that is fine. So here I created a new password with minimum 8 characters long and also it's a mix of capital case, lowercase, numbers, symbols, hyphen and all. Once we provided all this information, we can click on the next button. So next button is to set permissions. So in this space we are setting permissions. So permissions. As we discussed earlier, we need to set permission to a user to do something in AWS. For example, you created a user and that user want to access some resources. In that case, that user need to have some permission attached to him so that only he can able to access that resource. We have multiple options available here. You can attach policy directly to that particular user. So if I click here now, you will see so many policies available. So you can choose one of the policy based on your requirement, you can attach, or you can copy permissions. For example, if you have a user or groups, right? From that group, you can add the same permission to this user by copying also, or you can use add user to group. So here I'm going to show how to create a group when creating user itself. So now we are creating a user. In the second step, in the set permissions, you will have an option to add this user to a group. So if you add this user to a group, all the permissions to a group can be attached to this user. So that is the intention. I am going to select this option. But we don't have group, right? We didn't create a group at. So we are selecting the first option, that is add user to group. So for that we need a group, right? So first we'll create a group. So here itself we have an option. Otherwise you can go back to the IAM and below you will have IAM group option also. You can click on that, or otherwise you can click on this create group button, and here you can give name of your group, right? I will give developers. So this developer group, and this group usually have developer access also. I am going to provide administrator access also for this group. So this administrator access will have so many access, right, to do administrative work like creating IAM users like that. Look, this is the policy. But yeah, I am attaching this policy as of now. I'm not going to dwell deeper into these things because we are going to look at these things in the future sessions. So that's why I'm selecting this administrated access to this particular group, right? I am attaching that access to that group and creating a group. So now I have a group available, and also I'm going to select this option add user to group, and I'm going to select that group in which I want this user to present. So that's why I selected the developers group, and after that click on next, and you will have this review and create page. So if you observe this review and create page, right, it says the review what you have done till now. So here for user details, you have given username and we set password to custom password, right? There is no requirement for the password reset. So all these options what we have enabled in the first specify user details section, all this available here. And permission summary, the permissions we are going to use a group. That means we are going to add this Aditya into the developers group. So and all the permissions which are linked to the group will be applicable to the user Aditya also. And we have option to add tags which are optional. So if you see here, tags are key value pairs you can add to AWS resources to help identify, organize, or search for resources. So it's like if you add a tag, by using the tag you can filter out your resources. For example, I'm going to add a tag like user and Aditya. Now what this tag will help me is if I filter by tags and if I give user Aditya, all the resources created by the Aditya will be listed. At the same time, if you have another user, right, if you provide that user a name or any name, you can give department or environment. So any tag you can provide, based on the tag you can filter your resources. So that is the advantage, and providing tags is optional. Okay, so if you want to provide, you can provide for better searching capabilities. Otherwise you can leave it as it is. Now click on create user button. It will create a user now, and it is creating the user. And if you see here, right, user was successfully created. You can view and download the user password below. Yeah, so if you want to mail these instructions to particular IAM user, you can email it by clicking on this button. And this is the sign-in URL. By using this sign-in URL, you can able to access this account, and username is Aditya, and password is the password we have set, right? So I will do one thing. I will open an incognito mode window. So I open an incognito window, and I'm going to access this. So why I'm doing like this, because I can able to access both the root account and also the IAM account, right, side by side. So that is the advantage of using this incognito tab. So that's why I open this window, and I'm going to copy this console sign in URL. I will paste here. So if you see this console sign in URL, right, which is having my alias Aditya Learning 67 slash console, and if I click now, right, you can able to see a login page will be opened, and now this page is showing as IAM user sign in, and here by default it is showing the account alias. So here you can provide your account alias or account ID itself. So that is up to us. Since we created alias, I'm using the alias, and IAM username is Aditya. That is what we created now, and password is the password we created for this particular user. Okay, and I'm going to click on remember this account and sign in. We'll see what will happen. So authentication failed. Maybe I have given the wrong password. Again, I'm typing the password and sign in. Yeah. So now it is working, right? And if you see here, new console home was opened for a particular user. So I'm going to make it, yeah. So if you see here, this is account ID which was accessed by Aditya. But if you see the global account or the root account, if you observe, this is the account ID, right? Which is not belong to any IAM user. So that is the difference, right? This is IAM user console. This is the root user console. And right, we can go back to our IAM now. So return to our user list. It's fine. Continue. And this is our user, right? Aditya. And if I click on this user, in the summary, you can able to see the application resource name and console access, right? Enabled without MFA. Definitely, we don't enable the multi-factor authentication, right? We will see how to create, how to enable multi-factor authentication also in future. And the important thing I want to show you is the permissions tab. The permissions, you can see the user have administration access, right? He has administrated access, but this access is not directly attached to the user. It is attached to the user via developers group. So since developer group is having this administrator access, right? And also we added Aditya to the developers group. So Aditya inherited this administrator access. Okay. So this is the group attached. And if we go inside the groups, right? It is go to groups and one user is attached to this group and permission to this group is administrator access. Since group is having this administrator access, so the users which are added to this group also having the same access. Okay, so this is how you create a users and add those users to groups and attach permissions to the users and access your account by using alias, right? And I would suggest to use your IAM account instead of using your root account, and don't lose your root account credentials. Those are necessary, but day-to-day use, don't use your root account. Always use your IAM account, and right, you can create as many IAM users you want based on your organization or based on your user base, and provide that information to the different users and group them together and attach the similar policies as you need, right? In the future sessions, we are going to dig deeper regarding the roles, policies, and all. Right? I hope you got a better clarity about how to create users, groups now. Right? We'll see you in the next lecture. Thanks for watching my video. Bye.